Live in 3, 2, go.
Good morning and welcome to your Daily Huddle. Today's Friday, the 24th, and I couldn't be happier or more excited. I have a very good friend with me this morning, digging into a question that I think you'll find just exquisite. But before we begin, I have this quote for you. It's about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And this morning's guest is a startling example of what it is to be an entrepreneur and to be one who contributes to that world. I'll introduce you later to my friend David Aferiat. Let's begin the show, Lizette. Wherever you are, whether you're watching the show from South Africa, whether you're watching from New York City or Port-au-Prince, Haiti, or just here in Atlanta, welcome. It's great to have you here, great to be in conversations with you, and great to be creating with you the space where, as a human being, you and I and everyone else can live the most fulfilled life that we intend to. I want to begin with a few questions. Gio, I missed you, brother, and I want to know, where are you?
Saurel, ever since I left, I couldn't help but to find myself here. Never quite been able to be anywhere else or else.
Didn't matter where you are, you were here. Thank you for being here, Giovanni, and welcome back. Good morning, Tara. What time is it? And what are you grateful for this morning?
Good morning. Let's see, what time is it? The time is now, the only time that really matters. And today I am feeling grateful for my husband who is working from home, which is very rare. So a great energy in my house, and that's what I'm grateful for.
Well, thank you and welcome. Andrea, I had the pleasure of hugging you yesterday, and that was cool. So I'm going to ask you today, how are you and who will you be hugging?
I am grateful because that's the way I say I am. And I want to hug a bunch of friends. I've been missing them. So I decided to invite them for lunch. So I'm going to hug a bunch of former coworkers today, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
How about that? Perfect way to be not so busy, right?
I know, I'm busy.
Welcome, Andrea. Welcome, everyone. I'm honored, excited, and just can't wait for you to meet again David Aferiat, who is the current president of the entrepreneur organization, Atlanta, the Atlanta chapter, my friend, and also the owner of AVID Vines, LLC. Now, if you're a wine connoisseur, if you're a wine lover, that is the precise and only reason you want to be connected to David today, because he's the connoisseur of connoisseur. And really, he is an entrepreneur at heart. AVID Vines sources the very best organic and biodynamic wines from owners and growers for clientele who appreciates drinking organic, chilled, throughout importation, exceptionally reviewed artisanal wine with no regrets. David promises that you can drink a ton of it and not have a hangover. So there comes the no regrets. As part of an active lifestyle, if you can do that, it's an ocean of a difference compared to industrial production of over highly marketed brands. AVID Vines selections are the reward of those committed to their health and fitness routines, the real source of wealth and well-being. It's yours to experience, delivered straight to your door.
Oh my.
As part of a wine club. So David's here this morning to talk to us about the routines that are worthy of the best rewards. What routines are worthy of the best rewards? David, it's been a long time since you've been on the Daily Huddle. I'm delighted you're back. Good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Saurel. Good morning à tous et à tout. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's such a great feeling. It's we did this once before, Saurel, and I don't know how many people you invite back, but I feel privileged and very thankful to be in this space here with you today.
It's our privilege, and we're all intrigued by the question you posed.
Yeah.
What routines are worthy of best rewards?
Yeah. So
what do you want to say about that?
Sure. I mean, outside the context of the premise upon which we built this company, AVID Vines, which was this idea that you could drink in moderation and you could, pair wonderful wines that are organic with a meal and then not live to regret it later. The key to doing this is finding certified organic and sustainable wines that then require the added value that I bring as the importer in this whole equation, bringing them over on chilled containers so that they don't suffer what is and can be 6 weeks of hot inside a container on the water and then parked in a port for a week with traffic before it even starts to roll out and get to your favorite retailer or store or restaurant. No, these wines would suffer that, would get dulled quite a bit. And all these wines get dulled. Only 5% of all the wines from Europe to the US are ever put into a chilled container. And so it's the same, it's the reason why we often wonder, gosh, the wine tastes so much wonderful if we're privileged to go to California or any wine, producing region. And that's because the wine isn't damaged from the supply chain, from moving. If I took a bunch of Holland tulips and I put them in a container and shipped them across, they'd be a hot mess by the time I opened up the door, in whatever port in the U.S. And yet we expect wine to survive that kind of trip. So, in this narrow context of, these wines, you're meant to enjoy them twice. Once when you taste them, and the next day when you wake up with no regrets. And then enjoying these wines are the reward for a good routine, the kinds of routine where you don't want to be regretting yourself and your choices the next day. Like, how many times have we drunk champagne? There's a lot of people that I come across who have buried this principle inside them that says, I don't drink champagne because I know I'm going to get a headache. And to deny yourself that pleasure, yeah, exactly, it makes your life less aerodynamic, if you're not drinking champagne. So to reintroduce champagne to people in this kind of way, to say, look, you can drink and you won't get a headache because you won't have a systemic reaction. You won't have the inflammation from the chemicals that are sprayed on a vine and get concentrated in the juice, or that are put into the ground, nitrates in the fertilizer and soaked up by the vine and expressing themselves again in the juice via the grape. You don't have that. That frees up a lot of reaction in your body to just enjoy the experience, and the result is no headache, so that you can do your routine the next day. So you can do your self-care routine, if that's yoga, Pilates, or what have you. You've enjoyed yourself the previous night and you're able to function the next day.
I can hear a huge commitment that goes way beyond just being in business. What is that commitment for you, David? And what's driving it? What's driving you as an entrepreneur?
I believe, if you're going to lead others, either in an entrepreneurial setting or in a family or in a community setting, you really have to be able to lead yourself. And leading yourself means being able to keep the engine going of motivation, of health. So I'm an advocate very much for self-care. I'm an advocate for being able to take the time for yourself, so that if you serve others, if you if you volunteer, you better make sure that you've taken care of yourself first, because sometimes it's easy, maybe too easy, to give to others and not give to yourself and exhaust yourself. I've seen many people kind of overextend themselves that way. And my ability to even consider yes to certain projects and time commitments only come from being able to say no to others and being able to say, to invest that time in myself. So when we talk about routines that are rewarding, I believe first and foremost is you have to lead yourself. You have to be able to have a sense of self-care that says, I need a mental check, I need a health check, I need a new kind of nutrition check. And when you start to pursue incrementally these things, they're not all done at once, because routines aren't created all at once. They are, at this point in our lives, the careful, curated choices that we make over time. And that's what we have a lot of it when we're younger. And, as we get older, we have a set quantity of it. And it doesn't mean, there are no regrets. You can always start a better routine any day. You just have to realize that it's going to take that time. In another business that I operate as a partner in a fantastic software company called Trade Ideas, we help individuals make better decisions in the stock market. And people who trade actively, active traders and such, have very, 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 very well-defined routines. When they wake up, how they prepare for the morning, and if everything is carefully set into a routine, then it makes the variables in life that they're going to expose themselves to, like an unpredictable market, that's where they have to have all their attention. And it's the same thing in the rest of our lives. We have these carefully curated routines about how we wake up, what podcasts we listen to, what coffee we pour for ourselves, and everything else that we've lined up, so that when we move into the arena of our lives, whether it's our businesses or our volunteer work or even in our families, we try to control all the other variables that are part of our routine, so that we can be present for when the things are that we don't control, when we're in the arena, and when we have to react.
I can hear that commitment to creating curated routines and how you select your wines, how you ship the wines, and everything that leads from the beginning to the end, where I drink it with no regrets. David, I'm curious about your own personal routine. Could you share with us the routine you have curated for yourself? I'm figuring a day in the life of David.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one, but it's nothing extravagant. I guess where do you begin? You really begin the night before. I make sure that I love to cook, and so it's the way I unwind, really. And after work, and my wife and I have a very good. She's the art of a quick fix. If it's something that needs, and if work or something else, if life happens and we need to get something done quickly, then we'll have something semi-prepared, usually from like Costco or from a Trader Joe's. Then it's just a question of what can we nutritionally add to that, whether it's roasted Brussels sprouts or roasted carrots, or and so cooking for me is a way to slow time down, be very present, walk through something that I can create and that others enjoy. That's a huge part of my personal mantra, the generosity of hospitality. An example is last night, if I can quickly digress, this is kind of a weird story, but last night was an unusual night. Last night, we had guests over, and these guests were my ex-brother-in-law and my nephew, whom I love. I love them both, but already right there, this is kind of a ex-brother-in-law comes to town with my nephew and a friend. They're here in Georgia to go look for college tours. They're in Athens now to look at Georgia, and they came from Texas. And this was a special occasion, so I prepared a meal. It was a Moroccan kind of harissa spiced chicken with dates and citrus and orange peel, and kind of marinated with garlic and shallots. And then we had roasted Brussels sprouts. We had roasted beets that I had made earlier in the week, and roasted sweet potatoes. Lots of roasting, because that's what brings out a natural sugar in these root vegetables. And so we, and on a bed of rice, and we rolled it out. And they minds were blown and everyone was very happy and we enjoyed a little bit of wine. And that's a shared moment that to me is the penultimate, you know, and if we can have invitees like that during the week, fantastic. If we have them on Friday night, even better. But that to me brings great joy. It's part of our family crest that we have about being generous. And I've talked about that in our last episode. But, you know, so everything in moderation, a little bit of wine, a little bit of talk, celebrating a shared moment. And then, you know, that leads to a very good night's sleep. And then this morning before coming on and enjoying, you know, the space that you've created for us to connect and grow here, I had a nice workout on the Peloton. So if it's not the Peloton that I do in the morning, then maybe it's yoga, usually on a Monday, to kind of get the weekend, you know, activities kind of straightened out. But you'll note there's a regular exercise routine. That's so important. And that's on top of that, a regular nutrition, you know, of healthy meals that I can, you know, that I can control and make and come from control. I mean, it comes from farmers. We have a CSA, you know, a box of produce that comes to our house, and then it's a puzzle. Okay, what arrives and what have I got to figure out, you know, what I'm going to make.
So that gives us a sense of the routine, right? And
right.
For those who are listening, the entrepreneurs who are here, I'm already making the connection to how valuable that routine is, to how valuable the rewards that those routines give you as an entrepreneur. How is it connected for you as an entrepreneur? Has there been a time when maybe you faltered on the routine and you could see the impact on your work as an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah.
Or now that you have the routine, how does it create the sharpness you're looking for? What's the direct connection between your routines and your entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I feel that good exercise is a way to flush the toxins, you know, that would otherwise just pile up in my head. And if I find myself, you know, tired, if I find myself full of some negative thoughts where I have to kind of remove my awareness a little bit and rise and say, whoa, that's some negative traffic going through here. And, you know, it's like someone dumped something in the river here and it's floating right by me. I have to stop and I go, okay, ease up, buddy. And let's go sweat this out, or let's go do something. Because again, the routine is there. If you choose not to follow it, you create or you do that over time. Everything over time starts a new routine. I mean, and so one of the things coming just back briefly to the champagne, one of the things we say, look, these champagnes, this wonderful, you know, artisanal product. I mean, so it supports a family and a farmer in France in a little plot of land that's not mass marketed. No grape is purchased to make this. It's all grown and touched by hand by my friend, the winemaker. If you're going to enjoy this champagne, it should merit the routine that you have. This is the reward. It should merit the routine. If your routine is eating bonbons and sitting on the couch and watching reality TV, that's not the best routine to be rewarded with such fine champagne. You go reward yourself with something else, or maybe your routine is the reward right there. You're just eating bonbons and watching TV, but that's not going to help in the long run anyway. Curated self-care and achievements that come from taking care of leading yourself first before you think about leading others, and being healthy to take each day and its variability. Yes, then this is your reward. This can be a reward.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to, you know, so last night I also shared some of these photos that we took with my sister, who burst into tears. She was so happy, you know, for just everything, because it's a little bit of a dynamic. I'm sharing a little too much, but it was.
Oh no, that's perfect.
There was a lot of joy shared, you know, last night for the traveling visitors who happened, who came to our house and were able to enjoy a meal, and we were able to, you know, laugh and tell a bunch of stories and think about the future. I mean, you have two. You know, my nephew starting a new life, choosing a college. It's powerful stuff. And to appreciate and be part of that, well, you know, it puts a lot else in perspective. So, okay, how are we going to achieve the next objective for AVID Vines, or what are we going to achieve in the markets today with trade ideas? It certainly all puts it in perspective.
Yeah. You know, David, thank you for making that connection. Now I'm getting a very different perspective of the question. What routines are worthy of the best rewards? So to me, it's feeling like a curated life, the kind of life where you create the kinds of routines that not only contribute to your business and the world, but you think ahead and say, I'm going to reward these routines with the best reward. And I've tasted your wine on several occasions, and I'm inviting people to create routines worth that reward.
There you go.
And to connect with you and connect with AVID Vines at avidvines.com to maybe join the club and get in the business of creating routines that are worthy of such rewards. Tell us just a little bit before I open it up so people can get a piece of you. As the president of Entrepreneur Organization, what have you found most challenging to your routines?
Saurel, you ask really good questions. Let's just flat out say it. The challenge to my routines. So the commitment to EO, to Entrepreneurs Organization, is, first of all, it's the privilege of a lifetime being able to, what is Entrepreneurs Organization? Real quick, it's a peer-to-peer organization of business owners and CEOs who own and manage and grow businesses that are above the $1 million revenue threshold. And the organization is global in its reach, from Hyderabad, India, to Singapore, to Paris, to San Francisco, to Houston, to Dallas, everywhere, and major cities. And so Atlanta is one of a major chapters, and it leads in some of both the quality of our members and the best practices that we've implemented, all in the service of helping the community of entrepreneurs that belong to it grow as human beings, grow in their emotional intelligence, grow in their ability to share things that they can't share in other venues, certainly with their employees, or they couldn't share with their even business partners. They can't share necessarily with their spouses even. These are deep doubts and such that can be expressed in smaller groups that comprise the chapter. These groups are about 8 or so, and they're like a mastermind group, very much like the kind that you create. And they are meant to share some of the things that just can't be shared. So to lead a group of these entrepreneurs, and frankly, to lead through a board that then manages a lot of the activities of the chapter, which comprise 170, is quite a responsibility. And so to agree to have put this into my life, that agreement actually started a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I was a president-elect before I was president. And in that elect year, frankly, a lot of the work was done. And what do I mean by that, being president-elect? To me, it was very important to be able to speak at a moment's notice at events that's in front of the chapter and express what the theme of the year is and express my authentic motivation to people, both not only to serve on the board I was creating, but to also express myself to new members, to existing members about the journey we're all on and why we're here and how we're here to serve. And I spoke to a whole range of my advisors, mentors, friends. I even spoke to my rabbi, which was key because who else, as a chapter president, I can't dictate anything. I'm working with hugely successful people, and I relate to them just as peers at best. And who else is in that position to kind of lead by influence and not by mandate or such? And that's a pastor or clergy or a rabbi. And so speaking with him almost 2 years ago, we happened on some texts and such, and there was this mention of Moses and the hero's journey, and I was like, that is my theme. And so the theme for this year is this kind of sense of we're all our members are the heroes, and the chapter board serves as the guide for these heroes. Every hero needs one, right? The stories that we all know that we celebrate are all about a hero who goes from a transformation from A to B, helped by a guide. Whether it's every Wonder Woman who needs her Amazonian tribe to get there, or every Rey in the latest Star Wars trilogy needing a Luke Skywalker, right? And a Luke Skywalker originally needing a Obi-Wan Kenobi. You all need these kinds of guides in your life. And so
you've created the space where being EO president became part of your routine.
It did. And so to bring it back to your question, yes, it was a huge commitment. And so I have my family, I have Trade Ideas, I have AVID Vines, and I have EO. It's a lot. And I'm not saying that I'm hugely successful at all of it all the time. In fact, every day I fail at one of these things. So family, AVID Vines, trade ideas, and EO. I'm very comfortable. Someone asked me the question, like, what are you more scared of, success or failure? And I was like, well, I'm not that scared of failure. I do it every day. The question is, if I really had some wild runaway success, whoa, that would kind of freak me out a bit. But, if you fail every day, like I do, then you kind of, okay, you come back to a routine of self-care, because if you don't, you let that failure sit. The worst part of failure is, the impact it may leave on you. You want to learn from it. You want to, keep going. So I kind of jest and everything, but failing is to say, okay,
Yeah.
as long as I don't keep making that mistake, then I've learned something and I keep moving on. But something else is gonna, So while it's been a privilege of a lifetime, my commitment to serve continues with making the next president as successful as he can be, and the she that follows him. That's what I'm committed to doing in the remaining months of my term, which end in July.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for serving, David, and thank you for being here. Let's open it up for a few questions. Gio, go ahead.
All right, well, awesome. David, thank you again for being here. It's so great to see you. You're a great guy. Great.
Well said. Thank you, Gio.
I had so I want to share a few, maybe a takeaway, a surprising takeaway from today's conversation, and then maybe I ask a question that maybe you already asked, Saurel. I'm not sure. Maybe you did. I don't know. But you were pointing to it. So one surprising takeaway from me from today's conversation, as far as what is the best routine that leads to the best rewards. One of the things that you were pointing to was being a student. Well, what I heard you were saying is being a student of mastering life, like how to embrace the life, the possibility that life is, and there is self-care, and then there is caring for others, and this and you share it in your routine when you have this traffic of negative thoughts that just kind of show up. Well, how do I get myself balanced? Or exercise. And then there is what you do for self-care, and then there's sharing your experience with your nephew and your ex-brother-in-law, right? That you said, embracing the new journey of my nephew, and you were very present. You got very present to that, like, whoa, he's going to college now. And so you got very present to his journey, to his future. So in the way you were sharing this is what I got. It was like the best, probably, and David's share. The best routines are the ones in which you embrace your self-care and you embrace others' journey. You are present to others' journey.
You got it.
And that's what I got from you. Now, maybe,
if I may, let me pull something from that you shared.
Yes, go ahead.
What's a hack for getting a routine in place and a rewarding one at that? This is something that I've learned from EO. It's one we talk about quite a bit, and I know it's helped me even before I joined EO. I think the best moments where we learn so self-care is not just the physical; it's the mental part. And being a lifelong student, as you mentioned, Gio, is critical to keeping things fresh. It's what led me to EO. It's what's led me to my education, undergraduate and MBA. And then every time I've had a plateau in life, I've solved it by going back and continuing to learn. And so EO is a fountain of continuous kind of learning. The learning to me happens so that I can lead and continue to improve. The realizations come most often from the privilege of being able to travel. And we say in EO oftentimes is we have chapter events, local Atlanta chapter events. People come, and they come where there's a little bit of networking, there's a little bit of learning, a great speaker, and then they go back into their routines. And you can tell what happens every time when it's a local chapter event, like half an hour before the event ends, people start to revert back to, oh my gosh, I got all these things I've got to do. And it's not that they close down, but they're like starting to have one eye on the door and they're not as present, and off they go. In EO, there's many occasions to travel together for learning purposes, whether it's a conference, whether it's a global leadership, whether it's regional leadership, or whether it's a chapter retreat or a forum retreat, this mastermind group of 8 kind of retreat. And the retreats are important because when you remove yourself from your daily routine and make the accommodation and space for this kind of travel, your mind is much more open for longer periods of time, and the learning can really happen. You learn with your other, familiar, people of the chapter, of your forum. And even when you travel with your family, a vacation is nothing but a disruption in the routine. And if you are privileged to travel, whether it's 50 miles away or whether it's half a world away, travel is an expression of an ability to keep learning and to have an open mind. And so, the other aspect of this is your future self versus your present self, and that could take us into another 15 minutes. But that relationship is very important.
I love it. Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gio, for opening up that space. David, time flies on the Daily Huddle. We say it all the time. 30 minutes is just not enough to dig into it and to really connect just beyond the question. But I tell you what, I know that your final words for today will create something magical, and I'm asking for that right now.
Really? No pressure for the final 3 at the buzzer, Saurel. I will simply say that, let a good routine, reward a good routine. And as I kind of hinted before, the routines that you have with yourself presently are a bridge to what your future self is asking for. I'll say that again. So good routines, your future self, the future version of yourself is banking on the good routines you have. And so when you reward those routines, you are rewarding your future self. And what does that mean? My ability to be on the floor, to sit down Indian style, with my grandchildren is a future self, need that I see. To do that, work backwards from that, be flexible, do the yoga, have a routine. Is it to make a lot of money? Is it to have huge success? Well, maybe, but I have a vision of myself sitting on the floor with my grandchildren. And so to do that, I don't want to be bent over. I want to be on the floor with them.
I got it.
How's that?
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Saurel.
I'm taking this away. The routines that are worthy of the best rewards are the routines that I put in place to create the future self that I want. I love you, David. Can't wait for you to come back to the Daily Huddle. Thank you for leading Entrepreneurs Atlanta. Thank you for leading your family. And thank you for leading us this morning. So, folks, we're going to end our Daily Huddle and our time together today with our tenets. The first is to love. And we don't say it enough. David, maybe you hear it a whole bunch as EO president, but brother, I love you. We don't laugh enough. Laugh out loud.
There you go.
Stress less and eat mostly plant-based. That would be a phenomenal routine that gives your future self that is very healthy. Give, sleep, and shake what your mama gave you. But just in case you think you've got it correct, check yourself before you wreck yourself. This is your Daily Huddle on Friday. We'll be right back here on Monday morning with Kimberly and Zack for your Money Mondays. Until then, have a phenomenal weekend.
Thank you, David, man. Amazing. Thank you all, David, and your family.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good